It leaves that open, leaves that ambiguous. The fact that you can even have a kill switch in a car, the fact that you're leaving it up to some algorithm in the car to decide if it wants to work for you or not, that is still the problem. Well, what happens when the government says, all right, well, Mr. Automaker, we have reason to believe this person did something we didn't like, so please hand over the keys to your computer system and we're going to stop his car. And what's the automaker going to do? Probably comply with the government.
From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show with Matt West.
So I have to talk about the government kill switch mandate again. I don't want to talk about the government kill switch mandate, but here we are. So we're going to discuss that. Congress, unfortunately, has let us down in that regard, and this is coming to a new car near you very soon. Unless we do something about it. So I'm going to discuss that in more detail. We're going to get you up to speed on the latest on that. And then beyond that, that's a heavy topic. But I'm going to lighten up the show with some Toyota talk. And in fact, when I was prepping the show this week, this very inadvertently became a Toyota-themed show. That really wasn't the impression. You would almost think Jim Miller was standing here, breathing over my shoulder, being like, yes, talk about Toyota stuff, more Toyota stuff. No, he is not here right now, though I did see him yesterday, and Jim and I have some really cool ideas for some stuff that we are going to do coming up pretty soon, and if you want to stay in tune with that, you're going to have to subscribe to the YouTube page. This show, of course, happens on the radio. We're all across Southern Colorado, but you can also watch the show on video on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and more. But I really, if you haven't checked out the YouTube, I want you to get over there and subscribe to it. It doesn't cost you anything. It just takes a few seconds of your time. We're trying to get the channel right now to 10,000 subscribers. And we got a little ways to go. So if you get over there, help the show out, support the show. If you enjoy the program, well, go ahead and show it some love there on the YouTube page. Now, one of the things I want to get to that's Toyota related, and we'll get to a few of them, because Toyota has yet again sacked their CEO, and they took out a car guy and put in, well, we'll talk about it. It may not be a good move for Toyota. It may be a good move for Toyota. It could go either way, and I'll tell you why I think, I'll tell you exactly what I think it will do. And we do have to discuss, the Alibaba Chinese AE86, because that is once again in the headlines thanks to the guys over at the Big Time YouTube channel. We covered this story when it came out here on this show. Well, they managed to get their hands on one of these, and it's not pretty. It could use some love. It could use a whole lot of love. So we're going to discuss that and more, and even play some of your car sounds, and I'll tell you how you can score some cool stuff as well. There's a whole lot of things going on in the program today. It's a busy show, so I do want to thank you for joining me here. Now, I will say that it has been interesting weather-wise this winter, because I can't decide if I should pull out the track car, the S2000 behind me, if you're watching on the YouTube video. Should I pull out the track car and get it ready to go to the track, or should I tuck it away and try to keep it out of the snow, or should I put snow tires on it and go drive it in the snow? Those are my options. And you see, here in Colorado, we have had some unseasonably warm weather, which I will say concerns me slightly, because while the rest of the country has been dealing with ice storms and snow, and a couple of weeks ago, there was that major ice storm that rolled all throughout the country and hit parts of the country that are not used to getting cold and snow. I have a friend who lives down in Texas, and he actually, by the way, does the thumbnails for the YouTube channel But I was giving him a hard time. Like, you digging out of the snow yet? And he said, no, man, it's actually really bad here. They don't have the means to clear that snow out. And so it's been interesting the past couple of weeks. Now, obviously the storm has come and gone, but it's been interesting seeing people on various internet forums online and in social media, experiencing snow with their cars for the very first time. It's been very amusing seeing that. In fact, as someone who deals with a lot of high mountain snow, I don't just live in Colorado. I live, like where there's mountains in Colorado. Because a lot of people say that, well, Colorado's, go to Denver and go see some mountains. You know how many times I hear that from various people I work with during my day job who live outside of the state, and it's funny. Oh, yeah, I'll go to Denver and see the mountains. It's like, really? You're going to go to Denver and see the mountains? Huh. That's interesting because the mountains aren't in Denver. Denver's like in the plains. Denver is like Kansas. So like half of Colorado is like Kansas. Might as well be Kansas. In fact, if we just gave up that other half of Colorado and just gave it to Kansas, then I don't think anything would happen. And then we just have Colorado be the bit with the mountains. But I digress. So I'm used to driving in the mountains. I'm used to driving in the snow. And I'm seeing people online, taking their Subarus out for the first time and mobbing them around in the snow and having a grand old time. And that's great. I absolutely love that. I absolutely adore that, in fact, because, yeah, you should get out there and enjoy your car in the snow. The snow is one of those things that is a tremendous way to improve your driving skill. It really is. I have been a big advocate before on the show of getting out there into a snowy parking lot, where there's nothing you're going to hit, no one you're going to hurt, and, taking the car for a rip and seeing what happens. Not just doing donuts for the sake of doing donuts, but push the car into understeer, feel what happens when you do that, feel what happens when you try to transfer the weight forward, give it a little bit of left foot brake, experiment a little bit and learn the chassis. And the reason I'm an advocate for this is because if you go do that in a safe environment, now, disclaimer, I cannot speak to the legality of actually going out and doing it in a snowy parking lot. You might get in trouble for that still. In fact, people have. But there is something, if you can get, if you don't want to do a snowy parking lot, maybe you can get up in the mountains and there's a clear area where you can go have some fun. Just get out and really experiment with your car, because there are so many people who, frankly, don't have any business driving in the snow. They absolutely don't. And a lot of times we see that in states like my state here in Colorado, but in other places too that are known for their snowfall, they'll tend to get tourists in the wintertime who don't know what they're doing. You can sort of overlook the tourists in a sense because you're like, all right, well, they're not used to it and they're just here for a little bit. But when it comes to the people who move to your state, I'm looking at you, California, because all of the Californians got fed up with California and they got fed up with paying like $6 a gallon for gasoline in California. And then they go, ooh, Colorado, that looks cool. I'm going to go be like a surfer bro, but like in the mountains instead. And we'll go like hiking and kayaking instead of surfing. Those guys, come out here and then they absolutely are hazards. They are hazards to be around on the roadways. In fact, me as a guy who likes driving, and maybe you can relate to this as well. If you are somebody who is confident driving in the snow, maybe you're somebody who has a track car, you do track events, maybe you do autocross, you consider yourself a little bit better than the average driver out there. I've never thought of, okay, I'm going to have a problem on the roads and I'm going to slide off and crash. It's not an issue. I'm always worried about that other guy because I can't predict what he's going to do. I can try to predict what he's going to do, and I might be right, but you never know. You never know. So starting out the show here, I thought this is kind of like a fun PSA, if you will, to just get out there when you do get snow like this, when you do get things going on like that, to just get out there and actually experiment a little bit with what your car does. It's also another good reminder that tires are incredibly important because tires, man, oh my gosh. People don't understand tires, and I don't necessarily have all the time in this segment here on the show to explain tires as a whole, but There are different types of tires for different purposes. And I can't tell you how many people I see driving in the snow on what are all, for all intents and purposes, are summer tires. It doesn't matter. Look, the tires are kind of the most important factor here. It doesn't matter if you have all-wheel drive. It doesn't matter if you have four-wheel drive. If you've got crap tires, you can't turn, you can't stop. That has nothing to do with all-wheel drive. Just saying. So, hey, coming up after the break, we're playing some of your car sounds, and we're going to discuss the kill switch mandate. It is right around the corner. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Automotive ADHD right here. I love it, man. That is Bryce drifting his NC Miata. I saw that little Scandinavian flick there. Get the car going into that slide. I love that, by the way. Bryce, thanks for sending that into the show. He also sent some car sounds into the show last week at a hill climb event. So he's really getting out there and enjoying every bit of that Miata. That was an NC generation Miata. And by the way, the last segment I was talking about getting out there and, having some fun in the snow, learning your car with the intention of learning your car and becoming a better driver. I think Bryce has done that quite a bit. I mean, that's good stuff right there. And plus, the NC Miata, what a chassis for that. Because the NC, that is the Miata, okay? Because, everyone wants the NAs, which are the very first generation ones. The NA Miatas. Then the NBs are pretty good. Then the NCs. The NC is the third generation Miata, and it's considered kind of, in a lot of cases, people are like, oh, I don't like how they look. They're too heavy. Yeah, compared to an NA, they're heavy. But compared to anything else still on the road, no, that's a light, fun car. And then, of course, you have the ND, fourth generation Miata, and those are great, and they're a great value, but they're still the current Miata. It's the ND2. Correct me if I'm wrong, Miata guys. I know they will. That's the beautiful thing about this. I can be wrong about something, and you will correct me. But having said that, the NC Miata, and I think Bryce made a great choice on it because I think that is one of the best values of a Miata you can get. And honestly, the look of those, I've always kind of liked them, actually. And they've grown on me the more I've been around them. So people are like, oh, they look big. I don't know. No, they look great. Get yourself an NC Miata. If you want a cheap Miata to really have some fun with that's actually great to drive, NC Miata. All day. So anyway, you are listening to the Automotive ADHD show. I forgot to introduce myself in the segment. I'm your host, Matt West, hanging out with you, talking cars on the weekend. And government kill switches. So I have to discuss this, and I'm not happy that I have to discuss this. This is not something I wanted to discuss. I was really hoping this sort of just went away. It popped up, died in Congress, and went away. But no, it didn't die in Congress. It didn't die there at all. In fact, it has become, I think, a existential threat in a way to our cars at this point. I'll read the headline here. Car Scoops has the story. Congress keeps car kill switch alive as GOP splits over safety versus surveillance. Couldn't have said it better myself because that's what happened. And the kill switch mandate, to get you up to speed on this actually comes from some Biden-era policy. And we're going to get a little political here. But, on this show, we get political only as it relates to cars. We're your breath of fresh air on the weekend. If you listen on the radio all week, especially to this station, on several of the stations we're on, we have a lot of great political commentators, a lot of people analyzing the news in intelligent ways, providing thoughts and feedback. Yeah, we have that, and we have that all week. And this show is supposed to just be your breath of fresh air on the weekend. But we have to discuss this because this is huge. This is massive. This affects all of us. Whether you're an enthusiast or you just have a car that you need to get to work with. You got to get the kids to school. I talk for a living, I think. You have to get the skids to school. I guess we do have to get skids to school. Anyway, so having said that, this is, in my opinion, a totalitarian surveillance state thing that is being wrapped up in the guise of safety. Oh, do it for the safety. Do it for the safety. Do it for the kids. Something like that. And what it does is it requires that auto manufacturers have essentially ignition interlock devices in every single new car. You know, the little breathalyzer you blow into. If you've had a DUI, you probably, I don't want to say if you've had a DUI, I hope you have not had a DUI. I certainly haven't. But people who've had a DUI have to blow into the little interlock device to start their car. Now, usually it happens after you've had a DUI and it's mandated by the courts, and then you get it installed in the vehicle, right? Well, this essentially puts that in every single car, every single new car, whether you drink or not. By the way, I don't really drink. I on a very rare occasion, will I have a beer with some friends. Maybe if it's my birthday, I have a beer. When I went to Japan and went to the Sapporo beer factory, yeah, I had a beer there. But really, man, I'm not a drinker. I'm not. And, you know, that's part of why I think this irks me, why this makes me mad. Because the notion here is that a drunk driving interlock, a breathalyzer interlock type device gets installed on your car after you've committed a crime. You've done a DUI. Driving under the influence, I think, is a terrible, terrible thing. And I want to get that out there, that I'm not supporting that. I don't support the use of these things. And people are going to go, well, if you don't support that, you support drunk driving, don't you? No, I don't. That's not how this works. I do not support drunk driving in any capacity, but I also don't support the installation of these devices in every single new car. Why? Because this is something that is done as a punitive measure for someone who's committed a crime. You're putting this in every single car now, and you're assuming I'm going to commit that crime, even though I don't drink, right? You're assuming I'm going to commit that crime. You're penalizing me for a crime that other people have committed. And that rubs me the wrong way. That rubs me really, really the wrong way. And when we look at this, now, people are going to be quick to jump in the internet comments and say, well, it's not actually an interlock device. It's not a thing you have to blow in, right? The mandate is saying that auto manufacturers have to put in some sort of passive technology. So you're not going to grab the little breathalyzer and blow into it. That's a very direct method of doing it. They're saying, well, it needs to be passive. You just get in the car and the car knows that you're drunk, or it knows that you're not drunk, and it will start or not start. And how does it know that? They didn't specify in the bill that went back to the Biden administration. They didn't specify in that whatsoever. They basically said, and I covered it when it happened years ago here on the show, they basically said, all right, auto manufacturers, we know this technology isn't actually a thing yet, but if we mandate it, you'll make it and you'll put it in your cars, right? And then they passed the bill. And now, by the way, it hasn't happened yet. And in fact, they're past the deadline, which is one of these things that I knew that was going to happen, because if you just have the government mandate that a technology that doesn't exist, well, if we mandate it, the manufacturers will make it. Well, clearly it hasn't happened yet, but the government has decided to keep pressing on this. And they say, well, the technology is sort of there because you have cameras, you can tell if drivers are distracted. So just figure out how to use what you have and make it so it prevents drunk driving. And so critics of my standpoint on this, that I think this is reprehensible, this should not be a thing in cars, critics will say, well, yeah, but it's passive. You're not going to know it's there. That's not the point. The point, that's entirely missing the principle of what I'm trying to get at here, which is it assumes that I'm guilty and that I'm going to commit a crime. Again, wrapped up in the guise of public safety. And it's not even just a surveillance thing. But the update on this was Representative Thomas Massie. He's a Republican from Kentucky. Had an amendment that he proposed that would have barred federal funds from being used to implement or enforce rules tied to this and what they call, in the legalese of this, the quote, advanced impaired driving technology. Again, kill switch. Kill switch is the term I'm going to use. because it's simpler and you immediately know what it means. Advanced impaired driving technology is ambiguous. That's legalese, right? That's designed so you really don't know what it is. And, that's just to help prevent impaired drivers. No, it assumes you're a criminal and it's going to shut your car down. And it provides the means for the government to shut your car down as well if they don't like you. And that's what I have a big problem on. And someone's gonna jump in. I just made a statement there, and they're gonna go, well, it actually doesn't do that. And I can prove that to you because this got fact checked all over the internet and here's one example of it. Snopes, gotta love these guys. I say that with sarcasm. Snopes goes, Congress didn't approve kill switch law allowing government to shut off your car remotely. Here's context. And they say, what's true? Congress passed legislation requiring automakers to install technology that can, quote, prevent or limit motor vehicle operation if it detects impaired driving. What's false? They say the legislation does not give the government the ability to control that technology at will. The legislation passed originally in 2021 and January 2026 amendment to a bill that would have prevented it from going into effect was defeated in the U.S. House. I'm not quite sure their grammar there was right, but I read it as it was. So anyway, having said that, the Snopes says fact check. It doesn't actually allow the government to do it. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily prevent the government from doing it either. It leaves that open. It leaves that ambiguous. The fact that you can even have a kill switch in a car, the fact that you're leaving it up to some algorithm in the car to decide if it wants to work for you or not, that is still the problem. And like I've discussed with over-the-air software updates, in my opinion, being a significant security risk when it comes to cars, not just because over-the-air updates have bricked entire cars and caused major problems for things that shouldn't be there anyway. Like the car doesn't need, why does it need that? It doesn't need that, but it adds an extra vulnerability there, either to just bugs, unintentional things that brick your car, or potentially bad actors. Yeah, we haven't seen a major cyber attack through that route yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Doesn't mean that it's not possible. It doesn't mean that I think, oh my God, the sky's falling. We got to stay inside because anything could hurt us. It's not that. It's just a realistic concern that this is a major problem. And what happens when you have these kill switches? The fact that the car has the remote ability to decide if you get to drive. Well, what happens when the government says, all right, well, Mr. Automaker, we have reason to believe this person did something we didn't like. So please hand over the keys to your computer system and we're going to stop his car. And what's the automaker going to do? Probably comply with the government, most likely. So, the fact is everyone's saying that, well, this isn't that big of a deal. It doesn't actually give the government permission to do it. The fact that it has the ability to do it at all is a problem. Man, this is something we got to stop this. This is already passed in the Congress. The amendment to kill it got shot down. You need to let your rep know. I'm going to let my reps know this will not fly. We need to get this shot down before it actually makes it into the cars. You're listening to Automotive ADHD. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It takes guts to redesign one of the world's most popular cars. Introducing Toyota Corolla, Reborn. This sport liftback was reborn to please you with its balanced handling. Reborn to please your friends with its surprising performance. Reborn to please anyone with its low Toyota price. The 1984 Toyota Corolla Sport Liftback. Reborn to please the world.
Toyota. Oh, man, you're listening to the Automotive ADHD show. I'm your host, Matt West, hanging out with you, talking cars on the weekend. Man, so we got into it discussing the kill switch mandate in the last segment here on the radio show. If you missed that, go check it out on the podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and more. And this show is on video, YouTube. Check it out there. Subscribe to it. Make sure you like the video as well. We're trying to get the show to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. And only you can help with that. So check it out. Now, I I promised this would end up being a Toyota-themed show for no particular reason. Jim Miller's not even here. I don't even have the Toyota God with me, who, of course, has more cars than friends. He's not here yet. But anyway, so speaking of more cars than friends, before we discuss Toyota, because I want to get into the new CEO that Toyota has appointed, I also want to talk about the Alibaba AE86. This is something I am passionately opinionated on. If you're watching a video, because you see, I like these little rusty Corollas that people call AE86s. I got one sitting over there with a 3S beams in it. Does it drive yet? No. Soon though. Soon, very soon. Anyway, so I say very soon, and it'll be like 6 months, and people will be like, Matt, your car still hasn't moved in the background. Don't worry about it. It's probably a green screen background or something. It's not, but that's what I'll tell people. Anyway, so, but before we get to that, speaking of Jim Miller, more cars than friends, if you're watching on video, I am wearing the More Cars Than Friends hoodie right there. Can you see it on video? Yeah, there it is. It's got a great design on the back. And now I just did a giveaway for these hoodies. I just did, and we gave away all of the special edition Red R versions. If you want to know what that means, you're going to have to go on the podcast and check it out. But we gave them all away. Now, having said that, even if you didn't get the hoodie, I was just giving them away. First come, first serve while supplies last. And I'm frankly floored that we gave them all away. I didn't know if anyone was going to write into the show for them, but enough of you want to tell your friends that you have more cars than friends. Might be kind of hard to do if you have more cars than friends. I didn't think about that. Anyway, so we gave them all away. But even if you didn't get the hoodie, if you emailed in and they were already gone by the time that you sent the email in, I am endeavoring to go through all of the emails I got and at least ship out stickers and keychains in the meantime. And then coming up here at the end of the month, I'm hoping to get some t-shirts rolling in too, because I had a lot of people asking for t-shirts as well. So, it's wintertime right now, so I figured we'll start with the hoodies, but no, everyone wants t-shirts still because you're all crazy and you like wearing t-shirts in the cold. That's what I think. So I will keep you posted. We're going to do another giveaway sometime soon. So stay tuned on the show, but even if you entered for this one, I'm going to try to get you some keychains and stickers at the minimum still. So, Toyota. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota, as the ad goes. So Toyota has appointed a brand new CEO, and this guy's name is Kenta Kon. And he is going to be the new CEO, and Koji Sato was the guy who was the CEO beforehand. And don't worry if these names aren't ringing a bell. Of course, this is specific to Toyota Japan, but Toyota has had previously, the previous CEO before the guy who is in there now was Akio Toyoda, and actually of the original Toyota family name, he's one of the descendants. And by the way, the Toyota family, the original Toyota family, is Toyoda, like Yoda, like Star Wars Yoda, not Yota, T-A. It's T-O-Y-O-D-A. But I guess somewhere along Toyota's history, they decided Toyota made more sense. And if you didn't know that, now you know. Anyway, so Akio Toyoda, as a CEO there, was famous for being a gearhead. And this is why I think Toyota, as a car company, as a big, faceless, nameless mega company, which it is, it has to be my favorite big, faceless, nameless mega corporation. And it's not necessarily faceless, because obviously Akio Toyoda was the CEO for a long time before the guy, Koji Sato, was appointed, who now he's, of course, stepping down as well. But the thing about Akio Toyoda that was great is he was a car guy. He grew up around cars within the Toyota family and got, importantly, into motorsports. And he actually has this alter ego that they kind of play it up now in their marketing. But for a long time, his job as a CEO prevented him from going and doing racing, which he was passionate about. He likes rally racing, likes all sorts of different types of motorsports. He doesn't just limited himself to one. And if you've got, Toyota factory budget and money, why would you limit yourself to just one type of motorsports? He did them all. And he would actually enter races under a different name because as the CEO, they didn't want Toyota, the company, didn't want something happening to their CEO. That's a liability. Oh God, what if our Toyota gets he is a Toyota. What if our Toyota CEO gets taken out during a race and dies or something? So he would enter the races under like a pen name almost, and he would do that. And he's a big car guy, and he's really a major proponent. He has been a major proponent for Toyota's GR Gazoo Racing program, which of course is why we have cool enthusiast Toyotas. We've got the GR Corolla, we've got the GR86, we've got the GR Supra, we've got, which I saw when I was in Japan, the GR GT. I got to see that at the Tokyo Auto Salon in person. I thought it looked really good for a Dodge Viper, which basically is if Dodge made the Viper still, that's kind of what it would be, I think, but minus the V10, it's a V8. But anyway, so I got to see that. And, even that stuff, like the GR GT, has come under the leadership of the second guy now, Koji Sato, who is also an enthusiast. Right? So the point I'm getting at with this is Toyota as a car guy, right? Toyota has had, car guys' backs in the sense that they're making cool enthusiast cars. Look at their competition. Is Mazda making anything other than the Miata? No. Is Nissan making anything other than the Z? No. There is the Nismo version of the Juke, I guess. Right? And then they had the GTR, now since discontinued, but there's probably we'll see if there's another one. Nissan's a pretty cash-strapped company, so don't hold your breath on that. Now, looking at Toyota's competitors, then you have, you've got Subaru. Subaru's got the WRX. Great. Love the WRX. I've got one. They've got the BRZ. Great. They collaborated with Toyota on the BRZ because obviously you probably know this, the BRZ and the GT86, GR86 now, I should say. They're basically the same car. Yeah, some internet warriors, the suspension's different, the sway bars are different, whatever. They're the same car, same chassis. So you have that. So you kind of got Subaru and you got Toyota making some enthusiast cars. And then they're actually working together on it. But that's about it. In terms of cool enthusiast cars, what does Honda have? Okay, you can go get yourself a Civic Type R for like way over MSRP still for some reason. Or you could buy a Prelude. Ooh, you want to go spend 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand, I'm talking dealer markups on that, over like MSRP on a Prelude, which, yes, it's cool. Honda makes the new Prelude. That's not really an enthusiast car, though. I mean, it's basically it's a hybrid Civic, basically, right? And it's not, it's a touring car. It's a hybrid Civic touring car. Anyway, look, we're running out of time in this segment, but I got to talk about Toyota, the leadership that we're seeing there, and I want to get to the AE86 Alibaba edition. Is it worth it to go spend $10,000 on a Chinese-made 86 chassis? Well, somebody figured it out for us. They did the hard part for us, and we'll discuss that and more. You're listening to the Automotive ADHD Show. Don't go anywhere. I'm your host, Matt West, and we'll be right back.
He brushes his teeth with 5W30. Matt West is on Automotive ADHD.
Yeah, none of that 0W20. We don't use that stuff. No, 5W30 or nothing. Full synthetic. Hey, thanks for joining me on the program. I'm your host, Matt West, hanging out with you, talking cars on the weekend. If you're catching this show on the radio, all across Southern Colorado, man, what a gorgeous weekend it's been. Holy smokes, we've had beautiful weather. It's been like 65 degrees. I don't even know what to do. Do I take the cars out for a drive? I can't drive them all. Well, it's because they don't all run, but I mean, I still couldn't drive them all at the same time if they ran. So it's been too nice. Get out there, put the top down, go for a drive and enjoy this beautiful weather. Now, of course, if you're anywhere else in the country, you're still trying to dig out of that ice from like 2 weeks ago. So sucks to be you, I guess. Anyway, I have a confession to make before we discuss Toyota. Before the break, I was talking about the new Toyota CEO and what I think that's going to mean. I was giving you the context between the previous CEO, Kia Toyota, and then also the new guy. Well, the previous new guy. We have a new guy. Are you confused yet? I know. We'll get there in just a little bit. And I want to talk about the Alibaba A86. Can we squeeze it all into the end of this show? We're in the last segment here. I will certainly try. We'll give it a shot. But I do have a confession to make before we do that. Sandro, one of my listeners who won the hoodie, he's out in Portugal, by the way, which is incredible. He listens to this show in Portugal. Thanks for tuning into the show. But he pointed out, he's like, I got a bone to pick with you, Matt. He's like, I want the hoodie, but I have a bone to pick with you. And then he says, you know, in the last couple of videos, you referred to the Toyota Hiace as a K car. You also called the Suzuki Jimny a K car. And I do have a confession to make, which is I messed up. Those aren't K cars. Those aren't K cars at all. In fact, I noticed my problem on the Hiace a while back when I was editing one of the videos for the YouTube. And I went, oh my God, did I just call the Hiace a K car? And I did it like 2 shows in a row. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Anyway, but that being said, I mean, you already knew that. You already knew that part. I already knew that part, obviously. No, I was thinking when you look at Toyota's lineup, what I was picturing when I said Hiace was the Pixis van. Like that was my mental picture, which that, by the way, is a K car. I know that one's a K car. Now, having said that, the Suzuki Jimny, I just have no excuse because I was actually there in Japan. I saw like 1 million of them, and I had sworn in my head that I saw a Jimny with the yellow K car plate on it. I really swear I saw that at some point, and then I just started calling it a K car from that point forward, regardless of the fact that it's not a K car. I mean, it's a small car. It's, Sandro said in his message, he even said that it's like, 90s car small. It's like, okay, yeah, it is 90s car small. It's still a small car. It's not a K car. Not a K car. I know. 30 lashes for the host of this show. I know that's not a K car. The great thing, though, of course, about the internet is I can be wrong and you correct me. And I'm never wrong. I mean, I might have been wrong at this point. Maybe, just maybe. So we knew that already. We already knew that. Anyway, so with Toyota, Toyota's CEO, the new CEO, is a finance guy. You might have been wondering, is he a race car driver? Is he a WRC driver? Is he like the previous CEO, big car guy, previous CEO, bigger car guy? No, he's not. And he's a finance guy. He's a finance bro. And that could be concerning. It could be a good thing. And I'll break down what I mean by both of these. The guy's name, again, is he's been currently the CFO of Toyota. He's Kenta Kon. And now he has been Toyota's CFO since 2020, and he's worked at Toyota since 1991. So he is, he's been a Toyota guy for a long time. But he said in an interview with Bloomberg, and this concerns me, he goes, I'm very strict when it comes to money and numbers. And assume he said that in some in Japanese, but in some sort of like Yakuza sounding, accent or something. I'm just painting the mental picture here. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, so he said, I'm very strict when it comes to money and numbers. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Now, it depends. When my perspective is that of the automotive enthusiast, and perhaps yours is as well. And even if it's not, thanks for, of course, joining the show and just tuning in and being here. But my perspective as the enthusiast says, I don't know about that because whatever, what happens when money guys, finance guys, bean counters, as they're sometimes referred to, what happens when they get into positions of authority in companies, car companies particularly? They kill sports cars. Sports cars are the first to go. Why? Because sports cars don't make sense. Sports cars don't make money. They don't make money at all. I mean, manufacturers lose money on sports cars. I mean, heck, the talk in the automotive business right now that I've noticed from an industry perspective, has been, oh my God, EVs are losing money. Every car company right now is losing money on EVs. And then they're saying, well, we can float the loss of the EVs to our other models. That's been like the big focus lately is EV stuff and how car companies are losing money on those EVs. And I don't have the figures in front of me, but I promise you that sports cars probably lose more money than the EVs in the long run. In the long run. I'm sure the development cost on a lot of these EVs is much higher and they're still losing money on them. But if you take like all of the years that they sell sports cars, I would be willing to bet sports cars probably still, and enthusiast cars, I should say, not just sports cars, but enthusiast machines don't make a ton of sense from a money perspective because the vast majority of cars that you sell, if you're Toyota, are going to be Corollas, you're going to be Camrys, you might sell some 4Runners and some Tacomas, and you're not going to sell a ton of GR86s. Now, comparatively, the GR86 for the sports car realm, the enthusiast car realm, sells well for an enthusiast car. It does compared to its other, competitors. It sells very well. In fact, I don't have the number in front of me right now here on the air, but I do recall looking it up at one point on a show, like I think a year ago. And the GR86 is like the best selling enthusiast car within a certain realm. But regardless of that, enthusiast cars don't make money. And that is why it concerns me that a finance guy is now the head of the company. And he's the head of the company and he's coming out swinging saying, hey, we are going to be careful with money. He's like, I'm a stickler for money, right? And that means cool stuff that doesn't make money is going to go away. And now, to the point of the grand scheme of things, let's analyze this top down here because if a finance guy is able to get the rest of the fleet of cars making money, then there could be leftover money for money-losing projects like sports cars. There could be. There's two sides to this coin. You have, you have the living dangerous route, which is you get an enthusiast as head of the company, and he goes, I want sports cars. We want all-wheel drive cars. We want a new Celica. We're going to do a 6th-gen Supra. We're doing this GR-GT thing. Man, we're making all these really sweet cars. And then you sort of aren't paying attention to the entry-level stuff, the stuff that actually makes money. I mean, Toyota's margins on their Corollas and all of that stuff are going to be far better than their margins on the GR Corolla, the fast all-wheel drive one, right? And the enthusiast one. And so, you might run into an issue where, okay, you're focusing on all the cool stuff, you're scratching the enthusiast backs. Meanwhile, you're hemorrhaging money everywhere else. And then eventually you're going to go out of business or something bad's going to happen because you haven't been supporting the enthusiast stuff with real sales from the everyday stuff. That's a possibility too. So we'll see. Now, Toyota has been pretty committed to teasing us on a new MR2. They've got the GR-GT. They got all this stuff coming out. They're promising a new Supra. Yeah, things still might be looking up for Toyota. So, hey, thanks for joining me here on the radio show. After this, I'm going to do a bonus podcast, and we're going to talk about the AE86 Alibaba edition. Oh, I've got some thoughts on that. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for joining me here on the radio, but if you're on the podcast, stay right there. We'll be right back.